Welcome back to the I'm a Mom podcast. I realized that this whole season we are talking about the mental transformation that moms go through as they become moms, and it is pretty heavy. It is a difficult topic to talk about, and we've been talking about a lot of heavy things, and I wanted to kind of take a little bit of a breather from that and talk about appreciate the beauty of becoming a mother and just talk about time. Before I got married, before I met my husband, it was just me. I don't have any siblings and I don't really have responsibility over anyone. And so, as a single person in New York City, I really just thought about myself. There was no one else I needed to care for, and I was kind of my own important person in my life. And so, if I were to be hit by a bus, if I were to die, I didn't feel like I was losing that much. It was just me. I would go to heaven and meet Jesus, my savior, and so it wasn't such a big deal. There wasn't so much to lose in life. But after I got married, met my husband, and then obviously had these girls, suddenly the perspective on my mortality is so different, and a lot of new fears kind of entered my life. I never really thought about, well, what if I get cancer and die? What if I get kidnapped and die? What if I, have this tragic situation in my life? I didn't think about those things as a person on my own, as an individual. But now that I have this family and now that I have these girls, I have these new fears of, oh my gosh, what if someone gets cancer? What if someone gets kidnapped? What if someone gets into a car accident? Or what if someone drowns? Or I used to have these fears, almost, I don't know if they're irrational fears, but to me, they were not normal things that I used to think about. But particularly while I was suffering birth trauma, I would have a very real fear of active shooter situations. Like whenever I went to look at daycares before I chose the daycare for my daughter, I would think about those situations. In any crowded space, any church that I went into, I would look at exits and be like, okay, like what if there's a fire in this building, or what if there's an active shooter in this building? How would I get out so that my daughter would be safe? All moms, we also, as the babies start to eat solids, we think about, okay, what if they choke? What am I going to do then? And various different fears, all of these new fears that suddenly enter our lives because it's not just about us. And there is so much more to live for because these little girls are depending on me and I want to protect them and they bring so much joy into my life. So I want to be there for them forever. And so there is on one hand, there are all these new fears, and I have two responses to all of those new fears that have entered my life. And one response is not a great one, which is just anxiety and the realization generally of how mortal I am, how finite my life is, how weak I am, and that I'm not a superhero, that even if they would get kidnapped, even if they got really sick, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a surgeon, I'm not a multi-billionaire with endless resources to be able to support them if they got kidnapped by a really macho dude who could run 100 kilometers an hour. I would not stand a chance against that. And so part of my response would be this anxiety and this sadness of like, man, I am so finite, I'm so mortal, and just this hyper awareness of my mortality and not knowing what I would be able to do to resolve the situation. And then the second response, though, is very different, and it is an embrace of my mortality and knowing that, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only person or mom who is not a superhero. In fact, every single mom is also mortal like me. And so I think about embracing the fact that I am mortal, embracing that life is finite, and that also means embracing the time limit that we have on this earth and with our children and with our families. And so, before I became a stay-at-home mom, every day was such a rush and I was never really present. I felt like many different things and many different demands in life were pulling me from this direction and that direction, and I was not really present in either of those universes of like in my workplace and then in the home and then as a wife and all those things. And I was constantly rushing. The morning starts, I'm rushing to get up. I'm rushing to do my hair, rushing to do my makeup, rushing to put breakfast together, rushing to feed my daughter breakfast, rushing to pack her lunch for daycare, and then rushing to drop her off, and then rushing back home to start work, rushing through my work day and lunch and trying to do the laundry at the same time, and then rushing to go and pick her up. It was just like this rat race that would just go over and over from Monday through Friday. And I was constantly rushing and never really present in the moment or able to really absorb like what is going on around me or really enjoy, I guess, what's in front of me. And so really a lot of my first daughter's milestones just whizzed by. But now that I'm a stay-at-home mom, I have every opportunity, right, to absorb these moments, to be present. And actually that is my greatest priority, to be present from the moment that my girls wake up to the moment that they fall asleep. And of course, I'm not a perfect human being. There are some days and moments and hours and minutes where I'm not present and I don't want to answer them. I don't want to put my eye on them. And I just want to do my own thing or take a little bit of a break or take a little bit of a breather. But overall, honestly, I am doing my absolute best and I don't have any regrets. Like I'm trying to spend my time without regrets with them because I know that in just a few years, they'll both be in elementary school. And, the school system is a long one. They're in there from the age of 5, kindergarten, until they get into college and graduate college at the age of 20 or 21. So that's a really long, significant chunk of somebody's life and somebody's youth and childhood. And so I'm really trying to take advantage of this short period. There is that saying about the longest, shortest day or the longest, shortest time. And I think there's even a podcast that is titled that. And I think it's so relatable. Like there are some moments truly, both when I was working and even now, where I feel like, wow, this is such a long period of time. Like I have been through like 4 tantrums and like 25 different snacks, from like yogurt to bananas to blueberries to crackers and cheese sticks. And then, wow, only 2 hours have passed and I feel like I've, changed like 15 diapers. But then you look back and then suddenly she's like 6 months old and you're like, what happened? Why does she have teeth? Like, why is she eating solids? So there's so much that I feel about the trick of time. It just feels like you can never really grasp it and never really own it. And there is a part of me that's like, and I'm super aware also that the time that I'm spending with them right now is truly the longest time I've ever spent with both of them and or either of them in my whole life. Like the last couple of months, like I literally spend all day long, Monday through Friday with them. Actually, my oldest, she does go to part-time pre-K in a little church near us, which is so awesome, and she loves it so much. Just a couple hours a day, 3 times a week. So I really spend a lot of time with them, and I go everywhere with them. And still, it's like, even though there are these longest, shortest days or some moments that feel like forever, especially when it's dinner time or my husband's meant to be home and I'm waiting for him to come, there is definitely this overarching strong feeling of time is slipping through my fingers. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And, I know that a lot of moms, we feel similarly. Like there are some moments that are so hard and you're like, oh my gosh, I just wish that she or he would meet that next milestone. Like my arms are so tired, I wish that he could just crawl. My arms are so tired, I wish that he could just walk. I'm so sick of mixing purees, I wish that she could just eat like me or the same food. You wish it, but you really don't at the same time. It's the human weakness that we have, the fact that we're not superhuman, we're not superheroes, that we want time to go by because things are hard. But in our soul or in our spirit, we're like, no, I want this moment to last forever. And I think having a second baby, like knowing all the moments that went by so quickly with my first, I really make an effort to pause a bit more and appreciate her, both of them, more than I used to. But I just want to share, and on that note, I think there are definitely some like memes or reels or videos or whatever, or songs that moms always like. There are some specific or some particular songs or videos or memes that really like tug at our heartstrings and really just make us cry and realize how precious this time is. And I just wanted to share two of them that like without a doubt make me bawl my eyes out. And one of them is very popular. It's actually from a different podcast. I don't listen to it, but that podcast is called Lisa and Sarah, and I don't listen to it, but apparently this is how it came about. These women have authored this poem, and I'm going to read it to you. I think a lot of you have heard of this before, but like just nice to listen to, and hopefully I won't cry too much. But here we go. So it's called A Love Letter to Right Now. I'm 80 years old and somehow I woke up in my 38-year-old body just for one day. I wake up to little hands tugging at the blankets. I blink. I sit up slowly. My babies, they're small again. I grasp. I gasp. I cry. I'm sorry. They climb into bed, giggling, wiggling. I used to rush through mornings, but not today. I pull them close. I hug them tight. I kiss their messy hair. I hold their little hands, and this time I soak in every second. I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror. No deep lines, no grey hair. My younger face. I used to think I looked old at 38. What a silly thought. I stare for a moment and think, you are so beautiful. I find my husband in the kitchen making coffee. He looks strong and young. I wrap my arms around him so tightly, and he looks surprised. Maybe we didn't hug enough back then, I think. We talk about the day, nothing big, but today it all feels big. I memorize the sound of his voice. We pile into the car, kids arguing over seat belts. Someone drops a snack, crumbs everywhere. And I used to get so frustrated, but I soak in the noise, the chaos. I know my car will be quiet and spotless for many years to come, but I'll miss the mess. I will miss this mess. Dinner is loud and unorganized. No one wants to sit still. There's shouting, giggling, a little arguing, and so much life. I don't clean up right away. I just sit and watch, trying to burn it all into my memory. And before bed, I pick up the phone, I call my mom, and I hear her voice. Mom. I haven't heard this voice in so many years. I close my eyes and let her words wash over me. And I tell her I love her again and again. And I never want to hang up. And this time I don't leave anything unsaid. At bedtime, I don't skip pages in the story. Not tonight. I read every single word. And then I ask, can we read one more book? And they say yes. I don't want this day to end. I got one more day. And this time I knew this was joy. This was love. Those little hands, the loud messy dinners, our strong young bodies with no aches or pains, our parents who were still alive. It all mattered so much more than we ever realized. Oh, I didn't realize I was going to cry this much. But like every time I see this on Instagram, or every time I hear it, I just like bawl my eyes out, and like I purposely don't listen to it, because this is what happens to me when I read it or when I listen to it. And the crazy fact is, I'm not 80 years old and my babies are still small right now. And even when I'm spending so much time with them right now, like how is it that I still feel like time is slipping through my fingers, and that somebody is robbing me of more time with my kids? And of course I'm not perfect every day, and of course I get so frustrated. Oh my gosh, I yell at my oldest daughter so much because, you know, she's so jealous of the younger one, and she's always saying like, no, that's mine, and she hits her and steps her on her fingers and crazy things. And like the amount of tantrums that go on, like you think it was a terrible 2, she's 3, it's still terrible. And I heard that 4 was difficult too, and I'm like, oh my god, are you serious? But you know, I have these moments where I look at my oldest and I'm like, why are you so big? Like, why are you so tall? You have all your teeth, and she talks so well, and she has this sense of responsibility now, and then she's becoming a person. Like, of course she's a person, but like not a baby, you know. And it's really strange, and it's really hard. They too grow up too fast. And then my youngest, she has like 5 teeth right now. She's only 9 months. And, you know, when infants are really small, you know, they just stay in your arms and they don't squirm, they don't try to escape. But she's crawling now, and she doesn't really want to stay in my arms for long. Even when I put her to bed, like every single night, I have the privilege of putting her to bed. And before, with my first, I would rush these bedtimes, and I would want her to, oh my god, hurry up and sleep. My arms are so tired from like rocking you in my arms. But now I'm like, I just want to hold her for a bit longer. And she's the one that rejects me, my youngest. She's like, no, I just want to be in bed. And she like squirms and like arches her back to, you know, as a sign of telling me to put her in her bed. So, you know, that's hard. And yeah, honestly, like some days, like when it's hard, and honestly these girls sometimes make me cry. Like, you know, are you even a mom if your toddlers haven't made you cry yet? Out of like sheer exhaustion. But I do not look forward to putting them in school. Like, it's hard, and I'm like, I have zero plans of homeschooling. I'm not a childhood educator and all of those things, and we'll talk about that at a different time. But I feel like part of the reason of why some moms want to homeschool is just because they want to keep their kids at home, like keep them for a little bit longer, because it's just so fast and it's just feels unfair. And you know what's crazy? Like, we went to Korea this past summer, and that was like the first international flight that we have done as a family, period. And the girls, obviously. And you know, it was a hard ride, but when we got there, part of the reason why we really wanted to go was because my grandma on my dad's side, she's 92, I believe, so in her 90s, and I hadn't seen her for a couple of years. And you know, honestly, truthfully, she is going to pass pretty soon. She is going to pass just around the corner. We don't know when, we don't know how soon, but she will pass sooner rather than later. And I didn't think that death would come to me so quickly. Like, when you're a kid, or when you're in your 20s, or even your early 30s, and especially when you're single, and when your grandparents are still alive, you're like the third generation, right? Like, you have your grandparents, then you have your parents, then it's you, and then now you have your own kids. It's like, yeah, death is like really far away from me. But like, knowing that she's gonna pass so soon means that, oh my gosh, my parents are gonna be next. And I think that is such a crazy feeling, a crazy thought. Like, I don't know, part of you also feels like my parents have always been there. Like, why would they not be there? Like, could never imagine them not on this earth with me. And then the even crazier thought is, after them, it's me, it's my turn. My turn is coming. And like, that is just like crazy to me as well. Like, you don't want to think about these things, but it's an inevitable reality. So it's like this ticking time bomb of mortality that you think that is out of your reach, but it's not. It's not so out of reach anymore. Okay, so I did say that I wanted to share two. So here comes my second cry fest. And the second one is, I was just listening to this by chance. I don't even know where the song was coming on. And I was like, oh, this is an old song, but it wasn't ABBA that was singing it. It's called Slipping Through My Fingers. It was actually a guy. I don't even know who he is, but his name is Declan McKenna. He's a really young dude. And he's apparently quite popular now, but he did a cover of the ABBA song Slipping Through My Fingers, and I really thought that it was an old man singing, because that's the way that it sounds. And I can't put this on YouTube because of copyright issues, but I really highly recommend that. I love this song. I'm Slipping Through My Fingers, the cover by Declan McKenna, McKenna, but I'm just going to read you the lyrics. I don't think I'm going to cry through this, because the song is what touches me rather than, yes, the lyrics, but it's got to be sung. And I'm not a good singer, so I'm not going to sing it. But it's okay. I'm going to read the lyrics too. School bag in hand, she leaves home in the early morning. I'm going to cry again. Waving goodbye with an absent-minded smile. I watch her go with a surge of that well-known sadness, and I have to sit down for a while. The feeling that I'm losing her forever and without really entering her world. I'm glad whenever I share her laughter, that funny little girl. Slipping through my fingers all the time. I try to capture every minute, the feeling in it. Slipping through my fingers all the time. Do I really see what's in her mind? Each time I think I'm close to knowing, she keeps on growing. Slipping through my fingers all the time. Sleep in our eyes, her and me at the breakfast table. Barely awake, I let precious time go by. Then when she's gone, there's that odd melancholy feeling and a sense of guilt I can't deny. What happened to the wonderful adventures, the places I had planned for us to go? Well, some of that we did, but most we didn't. And why, I just don't know. Sometimes I wish that I could freeze the picture and save it from the funny tricks of time slipping through my fingers all the time. School bag in hand, she leaves home in the early morning, waving goodbye with an absent-minded smile. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's the other one that I wanted to share. Yeah, why is it so sad? Why is it so emotional? This was meant to be like not so heavy. I guess my whole podcast is just like super heavy. Like, this is not an entertainment podcast. This is not a fun time thing, but it's meaningful though. And I try to make it very thoughtful and intentional. But yeah, I'm just reminding myself and whoever was listening, the reminder that time is constantly slipping through our fingers. And you have this choice of denying time. You have a choice of continuing to rush through things. You have a choice of being anxious like I was and I am still sometimes, of, you know, what am I going to do without them? Or, you know, just even the worry of like when they leave home, like what do you mean these girls will leave home? What do you mean they're going to grow up and become adults? Like, how? Like, this 9-month-old, she loves cuddling with me and she loves having me hold her. But like, the saddest thought of knowing that she won't want me to carry her at some point. She doesn't want to hug me at some point. Like, it's bizarre, it's wild, it's crazy, it feels illegal. Like, and you know it's true because you don't want to be carried by your parents. Like, I'm a grown woman. Like, why would I want to cuddle with my mom or my dad for the way that I did when I was a child? And so these are just such precious moments that you just can't buy with money. And yeah, so just a reminder for me and anyone who's listening to be present, to enjoy your time. And oh man, this is like such a cliche, like so much easier said than done, like to make the most of it. And what does that even look like? What does that mean? I don't know. But for me, it just means not thinking about anything else in my mind. Just letting my mind be a bit empty, thoughtless, and vacant while I'm spending time with my girls. And not being on my phone, not scrolling through my phone, not watching anything. You know, we have a TV, a really old TV that someone actually gave us, and we just say that it's broken. So we lie that it's broken, and like we never watch it. Like, nobody ever watches it, including our daughter, the oldest. But yeah, that to me, that's been really helpful. Like, you know, even this podcast, like, this is my current hobby or side hustle or whatever, passion project, whatever you want to call it. But when I started this, I used to think about this podcast a lot in my head. Like, what am I going to talk about in the next episode? So what time am I going to record this? And like, how all these logistics on like, okay, so what night and what day will I release it, and then whatever. But when I was thinking about these things as I was spending time with the girls, I was like feeling rushed again. Like, even though I'm a stay-at-home mom and I don't have a real job, as in a corporate workplace, you know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, I don't feel at peace and I don't feel relaxed and rested when I'm spending time with these girls. I'm not really truly present because there's something in my head that I'm thinking about that I'm occupied with. I don't want to be occupied with anything when I'm spending time with them. And so I kind of created a rule for myself, which is, again, easier said than done and a little bit challenging at times. But when I wake until they go to bed, from them waking up to them going to bed, I do not think about other things. I don't try and rush. It is all about just taking care of them and being as present as possible and not being on my phone. And so, yeah, just slowing down in my life, slowing down, smelling the flowers. That's a way to put it. Just, yeah, smelling my daughter's hair. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional again. But like, just smelling their hair and looking at them, like eye contact, and just staring, a lot of staring at my daughters as they meet new milestones and say new things and learn new words and crawl faster and do new things, make new sounds. It's, yeah. So, yeah, I didn't realize I was gonna cry so much. So, yeah, I think time will always cheat on us, and time will always trick us. But there are little ways that you and I can make more of it, or feel like it's robbing us less or slower, by finding ways of being more present. And for everyone, that looks different, especially working moms, it looks very different. But I think that it's possible, and especially like if you're working, like what does that evening look like, or what do those mornings look like, or what do the weekends look like? I think the weekends are like really the treasures, the real gold. And yeah, I know some moms who have also been stay-at-home moms for a very temporary amount of time, or tried to extend their maternity leave. And man, all of that conversation about how the government and how the world and how culture can support moms to be able to temporarily exit the workplace and then return on their own accord or on their own time, I think is a different conversation and has to be had. But for now, for this episode, that's it. Enough tears were shed. Too many tears were shed. So that is it. Looking forward to talking to everyone again in the next episode. Don't forget that I do have an Instagram account. It is called I'm a Mom Podcast, and also a YouTube channel with the video version of this. The video version is really not that exciting, but if you prefer to watch or listen on YouTube, it's there as well. And obviously the podcast is available on all platforms that have podcasts. So have a wonderful week. God bless you, and talk soon.